What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Khabib doesn't want to hear excuses after the Islam vs Oliveira fight. It took a while, but we're finally going to get to see Islam Makhachev fight for the undisputed UFC lightweight title. And while his opponent, Charles Oliveira, isn't the official champion right now, he's pretty much the uncrowned champ. Both men are in double-digit win streaks, with Oliveira's 12 to Islam's 10. Both are outstanding grapplers, but with very different styles. Both are also dancing with greatness, with Oliveira putting together an impressive championship resume and Islam being the successor to the Khabib Nurmagomedov legacy. Khabib feels that this fight is Makhachev's to lose, and he will continue the Dagestani dominance atop the lightweight division. Case in point, this is what Khabib stated in a recent Instagram post about the upcoming fight in October. Just goosebumps from waiting. Islam Makhachev is coming out for this fight against the best fighter at the moment in the UFC. Oliveira is the best fighter of 2022. He's one of the best, regardless of the weight category. Also goes on a 12-win streak in the UFC. This fight will answer all questions. Someone reads history and someone writes it. Prepare your excuses. We aim to win Oliveira ahead of schedule, inshallah. The stage is set for UFC 280 in Abu Dhabi on October 22nd. What do you make of Khabib's comments here? Khamzat Chimaev says Israel Adesanya lost the hunger. Could the money he's made from fighting help put out middleweight champion Israel Adesanya's flame? That's what Khamzat Chimaev thinks. In a recent interview with Ariel Helwani, Khamzat touched upon the last Stylebender's last fight, a unanimous decision win over Jared Cannonier at UFC 276. The fight was much hyped, but in the days after the event, Adesanya received a lot of criticism for his performance, with many claiming he's simply outpointing fighters and not going for the kill. Khamzat is in that camp, and while he doesn't outright feel that Adesanya is a bad fighter or had lost a step, Khamzat thinks that Adesanya is simply living the good life and it's making him into a more boring fighter, a point fighter. Case in point, this is what the welterweight contender stated while on the MMA Hour this week.
I don't know what's happening with him last time. He fights better before. Now maybe he's not that hungry, you know. He's driving like crazy cars and he has a lot of money, and that makes some people, they change, you know. When you're hungry, you fight crazy, and like he did before. Now I don't know.
Adesanya is set to defend his middleweight title against former kickboxing rival Alex Pereira, a fight that will no doubt generate a ton of excitement. For Khamzat, he's now got a scheduled fight in September against Nate Diaz, but he is in line for a potential title shot at welterweight, possibly in the near future. Even still, he has expressed his desire to fight for the middleweight title in the future, and that could set up a Khamzat-Adesanya clash later on down the line if a lot of things fall into place. Do you agree with Khamzat here about Adesanya losing that hunger? Or do you disagree with the Chechen Swede here? Anthony Lionheart Smith believes the criteria of judging in MMA is the problem. UFC 277 is going to have a massive light heavyweight clash between Anthony Lionheart Smith and Magomed Ankalaev. The fight could have title shot implications for the winner. Smith is fielding a lot of questions this week related to not just fighting, but all things MMA. So in a recent appearance on MMA Junkie Radio, a conversation took place over the judging and scoring of MMA. It's a hot topic for debate among fighters, pundits, and fans. Bad decisions have been part of the sport forever, it seems. But Smith's take is that the judging isn't the problem. For Smith, the real culprit in developing robbery decisions is the scoring criteria itself. Not only does he admit that he's been a bit hard on judges in the past, but Smith also goes on to the scoring for MMA, how it's basically a boxing scoring system, and how there are no actual fighters, ex-fighters, or coaches involved to really have a say and work out the system for the better. Case in point, this is what Smith stated during the interview.
The criteria, I think, is the problem. It's very odd to me to have a bunch of nerds in suits in an office somewhere tell me what a significant strike is. I think that's the problem. So then those guys are the ones that are passing it down the line to the other judges, and they're telling them what a significant strike is.
Lionheart goes on to say that former fighters and former coaches should be involved in the scoring. should be part of the dialogue to figure out what the proper criteria is for a mixed martial arts fight that includes all sorts of things, from striking to control time to grappling to everything in between. Smith feels that clinch work, especially up against the cage, should figure more into the criteria than it already is. Do you agree with Anthony Smith here that the criteria for scoring MMA needs an overhaul? And what, in your mind, would a new MMA scoring criteria take into account? Dan Hardy reveals who he thinks Paddy Pimblett should fight next. Paddy Pimblett is on a roll, with 3 wins, all finishes in the UFC's lightweight division. His latest win over Jordan Levitt last weekend at UFC London in the O2 Arena saw his stock rise even further, and he's quickly becoming a star for the promotion. Retired MMA fighter Dan Hardy, a fellow Brit, likes what he sees from Paddy the Baddy, and while he doesn't believe Paddy is ready to take on the likes of Dan Hooker, he does feel he can fight guys who can push him to the brink and increase his skill set. Hardy feels that with the right opponents, perhaps 3 more wins inside of about a year, Paddy would finally be able to take on recognizable fighters, people with a name. Until then, Hardy feels that Pimblett's next probable opponent was already on the same UFC London card last weekend. This is who Hardy stated Paddy should fight next while on the MMA Hour this week.
You know, he's fought the right level of opposition for the level that he's at. I mean, I think if you want to step him up, you had Ludovic Klein that picked up a win over Mason Jones a bit later on in the card. That would be a logical step up. You know, he's going to fight someone that's a tough, durable European fighter that he's going to be able to push him in the grappling range as well as striking.
Klein is a Slovakian fighter who is on a 2-fight win streak after returning to the 155-pound division, with wins over Devontae Smith and the aforementioned Jones. He's also got 5 fights in the UFC to Paddy's 3. But unlike Paddy, he's actually lost 2 straight before at featherweight. Klein had a stellar debut win over Shane Young by a first-round head kick knockout, but it was a catchweight fight due to Klein having missed weight for that bout. Paddy feels he's already at the point where he would most likely be fighting on pay-per-view cards, and even stated after his latest win at UFC London last weekend that he would love to fight in December. What do you think of Hardy's suggestion that Paddy fight Ludovic Klein? Who do you think would win that fight?
I am my management.
Are you solo now?
No, I guess, yeah. Solo dolo, no middleman, no one taking a random percentage for being a middleman. Well, say UFC gets a sponsorship deal, and then whoever handles that at the UFC, they're like, oh, this UFC wants Sean O'Malley, I'm going to go to his management, and then their management takes 20%, 15%, whatever, just to tell me about the deal. Not to do anything, just to say, hey, UFC called, do you want to do this deal? I'm like, sure. You know, it's the same thing. I mean, with fight pay money too, it's like, you want 15% of my money because you did what? No, that ain't happening. Oh, you want some of the bonus too? Yeah, not happening. It just makes sense. I personally enjoy doing all the business side of things. So there's some fighters that are probably like that. I don't even want to look at that stuff. You take care of it and I'll give you the percentage. I like to be a part of my deals. I like to be directly in conversation, communication with all my brand deals, the UFC specifically. Just everyone. I don't want any miscommunication that always seems to happen when there's an extra voice in the middle. It's nice getting that check, and it's not, you know, you have to write your 15%. You pay the coaches. I pay Brandon. I pay Tim. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to write a check to a management team for really not doing much.
Thank you so much for joining us today. What do you make of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.